Welcome to Anime Out of Context, a comedy review show hosted by a basement dweller who grew up scrounging terrible fan subs on sketchy websites prior to the convenience of modern streaming, alongside a willfully ignorant soul whose only knowledge of anime comes from the shows forced upon him here. This show will contain spoilers, incorrect information, and copious amounts of adult language. Our hosts are not experts on any topic, and everything they say should be taken with a grain of salt. Thank you for listening, and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Anime Out of Context, the show where I attempt to explain the sometimes weird, sometimes wonderful, but always hilarious world of anime.
And oh god, has it been another year? What the fuck am I doing with my life?
I'm Shaun Rawlings.
I'm Remington Chase.
And not only has it been another year, Rem, it's been a total of 4 years.
We started this podcast February of 2018, and we have been very consistent, like with very rare gaps.
Yeah, no, and even if we have a gap, we usually try to at least throw something out into the wind. Like, whether it's the occasional Dylan episode or the occasional compilation, we try our best, and I feel like that's pretty good considering.
I have dedicated so much of my life to weeby bullshit.
Hey, not as much as me, though.
Well, thank God. Oh my God, I can't even.
Yeah, you'd need another decade to catch up.
When you said that, for a brief moment, I tried to imagine what that would be like for me.
Yep.
And I was filled with the truest terror and panic. I would not be able to cope.
Yeah, like even in just the past 4 years, Rem, I'm sure I consumed at least 4 times as much anime as you have.
And already, I would say that I have consumed far too much anime.
But here we are, 4 years. Not many people can say they have committed to a project for 1 year, let alone 4.
Very thankfully, like, as a podcast, we've gotten very lucky with a really great community that supports us and we adore, and we're so pleased. Like, we have gotten far more results than we ever imagined when starting out. And we're wildly grateful for that.
Yeah, no, like, imaginably so. Like, it cannot be overemphasized how grateful both myself, Remington, and Dylan are for everybody who has supported us all this time. Because, y'all, this is an important project for me. I don't know how important it is for you, Rem, but it's important for me.
You know...
Wow, Rem. Way to sugarcoat it.
It is important in the sense that I enjoy bantering with friends, having a project with 2 very close friends of mine, fostering a really fantastic community who I appreciate and often makes me laugh and makes me smile a lot of the time, even through the death threats. There is just the very big asterisk of all the anime related stuff.
And Rem, one thing I will point out is 4 years, this is the most commitment I've ever had in any kind of relationship. So, you know, thank you, buddy. Thank you for essentially being the closest thing I've had to a long-term relationship.
It's what I'm here for, Shaun. Meanwhile, to get us on track, you know, past the sentimental garbage.
Yes.
Shaun, 3 of the past 4 episodes that we have done have, they've hurt me.
Yes.
Deeply.
Yes.
And then the 1 out of 4 that didn't, I enjoyed it, but it still probably hurt me psychologically in some way.
Yeah, no one is ever the same after Pop Team Epic. Let's be real.
So, it's been a bit of a rough month. If I'm, like, the past 4 weeks have been rough. I'm really hoping that we can change course.
To be fair, though, Rem, the last week was kind of your own fault.
I disagree. I was set up.
Rem, I could have not laid out a bigger trap.
Nonetheless, Shaun, I'm emotionally fragile right now.
Yeah.
I'm vulnerable. And sure, while it would be a great time to send me into the abyss because, oh man, am I primed for it, maybe we just don't.
Well, you think I would celebrate 4 years of doing this podcast by truly and utterly destroying you emotionally and physically?
Yeah, no, that would track.
Well, I mean, what did we do last year for our anniversary? It can't have been that bad.
Genuinely cannot remember.
Oh, I see. Fantastic.
Genuinely, no idea.
That's okay, Rem, because I don't think I do either. I could
Wait,
probably
one second.
check real quick. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm checking. Fuck you. Was it?
Oh, it might.
It was either Wonder Egg Priority or The Promised Neverland Revisit. I want to say it was The Promised Neverland.
I think it was The Promised Neverland, actually. That feels right to me. Because I don't think I would have spent our anniversary on Wonder Egg, even though at the time I was very hopeful for it.
Meanwhile, the year before that, and it's difficult because we're just looking at the general time frame. It doesn't happen on the anniversary.
Yep.
Year before that, it was either High School DxD or Sword Art Online Abridged. Which either way, Sword Art Online Abridged,
Sword Art Online,
better.
you enjoyed Sword Art Online Abridged.
Yeah, but it's still like it
scared you.
Haha, Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
And then and then before it was then our first ever anniversary.
Yep.
It's sort of a 2-part on that one.
Yep.
But both really good anime. Cory in the House and Place Further Than the Universe. So we actually have a pretty solid track record of anniversary episodes.
Yeah, because believe it or not, Rem, I want to keep doing this project with you, so I've got to keep throwing you bones every once in a while.
Basically, Shaun knows that around the anniversary is the time where I'm more likely to think about shit, I've been doing this a while. How long should I be doing this? And he's like, oh, look, sometimes it's pretty good. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
Because, Rem, you have some serious commitment issues, as we've learned, over our near decade of friendship.
Ain't that the truth? All right, so what are we doing?
So, Rem, actually, what we're doing this week kind of plays into last week a little bit. In a good way. I'm being genuine this time. Because while I was combing through emails about Your Lie in April, I came across a lot of the same type of message.
Yeah.
A lot of them were like, okay, either I disagree with you on Your Lie in April and you should go die in the fiery pits of hell, which was nice. It's nice that people are trying to get a little eloquent with their death threats.
Usually it's just pretty crude and straightforward, but sometimes they get really into it.
Yeah, no, and with minimal swearing, which is the really impressive one. But the majority of them were all like, yeah, you know what? Your thoughts and views on Your Lie in April made a lot of sense to me. So here is a suggestion. And I thought to myself, you know what? It has been a long time coming. And it also plays well into our anniversary as today, Remington, we're going to be covering another Shaft anime, which it's been a while.
And Shaft is not to be confused with, I don't know, like Tilt or something.
Well, no, Shaft is the one with the head tilts.
Shaft is the one with the head tilts. And then there's another one that I always confuse for Shaft.
Yes. Even though, when you first started confusing it for Shaft, we had only ever done one Shaft show. But for frame of reference, Remington, Shaft is the people who made Madoka Magica.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, all right.
Right? We haven't covered a whole lot of Shaft productions, because there's one massive Shaft property that people have been wanting me to do for ages, but it's hard to approach, let's just say.
A massive Shaft, you say?
Massive Shaft. Absolutely huge. Also in context with the show, weirdly. And since then we haven't really done many Shaft productions, and I figured, hey, one of the first anime I ever showed you was a Shaft production, so maybe it's time to return to the studio. With that in mind, this anime it's another type of slice of life drama, but not as heavily focused on romance elements. It's genuinely focused on the characters and individual issues and perspectives and thoughts. So you don't have a very bad shoehorned romance plot throughout the majority of the series.
That's good. All right.
But people constantly compare this series to Your Lie in April, and while that might be scary at first, there are a few reasons for it. The main character has experienced trauma in his past, of course, and is having a bit of a rough time. He's kind of a bit of a prodigy.
Yep.
Not in piano, though. And he's just trying to go through his own life and cope with his crippling loneliness and other mental issues. Which, there's similar there. But, Rem, do you want to know the real main reason people compare this anime to Your Lie in April?
Why?
Because, well, the name of this anime is simply called Sangatsu no Lion.
Okay.
Or
it's the one.
March comes in like a lion.
All right. I know nothing about it, but yeah, okay. So it's just like, haha, spring months.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Fantastic.
That's the big.
All right.
That's one of the biggest comparison points that I can find. That and of course,
You have lie in April, but you have lion in March.
It is funny joke. You see?
Yeah.
Oh God. I'm gonna...
All right. In the final episode, just theoretically, not making any comparisons, is there going to be a lion revealed in the final episode that makes everything worse?
No.
Cool. All right. Awesome.
And Remy and Dylan, you do not have to censor that this time.
Will there be any lions?
Metaphorical lions primarily.
All right.
And that is one of the biggest comparison points, but also because, it's softly animated, there's a decent soundtrack, it's got a main character who has deep-seated trauma and crippling mental issues. It's that kind of thing. Except, the world doesn't fucking revolve around him as much.
Good. All right, so what do I need to know about this show before we jump into it?
Okay, so the show is about our main character, Rei Kiriyama. And he is a professional shogi player. What do you know about shogi, Rem?
Have I heard this before?
Shogi? Yeah.
Is it like Go but not? Is it that one?
No.
Because there's one like that, though. Yeah, I got no idea.
Okay, so shogi is essentially Japanese chess.
I feel like it still might be what I was thinking of.
It's very possible.
But I was just thinking of it in wrong terms.
Okay, so the only anime I can think...
Is it... Wait. I know that there's... Is it the one where there's a famous / infamous anime about this where, like, ghosts or something?
Where, like, ghosts or something.
I feel there's, like, an infamous shogi ghost anime.
Uh-huh.
I Googled it, right?
Okay.
Because I was like, I saw someone making fun of this ages ago.
Okay.
Okay, no, it's not actually shogi. It's about Go, which is why I thought this.
Is it fucking Hikaru no Go? Yeah, there you go.
And that's why I said Go in the first place. That was all right.
No,
I see where my wires got crossed. I see where everything happened, where everything went wrong.
Yeah. No. Rem, shogi is essentially the Japanese version of chess, and the way you would recognize it is, do you remember the Master of Killing Time short anime we did?
When they had the elaborate sketch where he was playing, but then he made up his own rules and he just went crazy with it, and it was fucking fantastic.
Yes, because shogi is a traditional war style chess-like board game, and it has a lot of similar rules as well. And,
all right, so he's a professional at it?
Yep, he's a professional at it at a very young age, at 17 actually.
And it turns out that actually his mother pushed him into it, and she was horrendously abusive. Now she's dead.
Not quite.
But you should see the way he plays.
Everybody around him wants to see him play shogi. And they come from miles around, and they all got into shogi because once when he was 5, he beat a grandmaster shogi player. And since then, shogi is all that matters.
Oh, fuck.
I will say there is one character who considers himself his rival, and the main character gives no shits about it.
That's fine. That can be done well.
Yeah, no. So it's a pretty traditional board game, and it is used as like a metaphor motif in loads of anime. And there are a few anime that focus on it. This one in particular. And there is actually an infamous shogi anime that I don't think we'll ever cover unless we get enough requests for it. But even if we did, I hesitate to do it because it's essentially
Is it sexy shogi?
in the worst possible way, Rem.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, no, it's I would call it as lolly collection shogi. Which
What the fuck?
don't worry about it. We're never gonna cover it. It's fine. It's just an awful thing that somebody thought was a good idea, and clearly nobody stopped them. Don't worry about it. We're talking about March Comes In Like a Lion, which is way, way, way more interesting. But at any rate, he is a very well-known and regarded shogi player considering his age. Problem is he is still a teenager, and guess what? Teenagers do not do well when they are dealt in an incredibly high amount of pressure, especially when your entire livelihood depends on whether or not you can play shogi well.
Okay, yeah.
And he spent a good chunk of his life being pressured by his adoptive family and the shogi community as a whole, and essentially decides to move out and live on his own at 17 years old, living off of his shogi funds, essentially. Which, of course...
That's a real risky move. If he was smart, then what he would do at that age is become an esports player.
An e-shogi player.
Yeah, see, actual shogi? No, that's not going to get you far. Streaming shogi on Twitch, perhaps as a VTuber? There you go, buddy.
I wonder if Twitch does have a shogi section. Surely they must. I know they have a chess section. But...
Yes, they do.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad.
There's only one person live on it right now, and it is Shogi Explained.
Oh, fantastic. Go give them a watch if you're interested in shogi. Gotta boost the small members of the community. But at any rate, since he's been wallowing around in his own like self-loathing, as teenagers are prone to do, he does actually meet a small family of sisters who own a small shop, and essentially their goal is to try and help cure Ray of his loneliness, like his massive, massive loneliness. Like they take a liking to him, and he takes a liking to them, and it's just a little slice of life show about them trying to help out him deal with all of his mental issues and hang-ups while, still trying to play a bit of shogi here and there.
That sounds lovely. Sounds like it has quite a lot of potential.
Yeah. And guess what? To make it even better for you, Rem, there are adorable cats.
I'm all in on the adorable cats.
Yep.
All right, so you've done a good job of selling me, but I do have one final question. It's actually a rules clarification
yes.
shogi.
Yes, of course. And I am a shogi expert, so I can clarify anything you need to know.
Perfect. In shogi, when do I play Exodia?
Obviously, Rem, when you get all 5 pieces in your hand.
Okay, just needed to clarify. Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
No.
It's also how I've won Mahjong.
Yeah, no, it's important. Like, it is the universal rule in most Eastern-style board games.
Playing Mahjong, someone's like, oh, y'all are fucked. I'm about to get 13 orphans. So I'm like, I just drew the 5th Exodia, bitch. That doesn't even matter.
There are orphans in Mahjong?
that is genuine terminology I just pulled out there. Do not take that terminology to mean I have any proper understanding of it.
Look, let me put it to you this way, Rem. I watched a Mahjong anime once. I watched the first season of it. By the end of it, I still don't understand what the fuck is going on with Mahjong.
I have an entire Mahjong set. It's really high quality, and I've never done any.
Fantastic. So with that in mind, Rem, I think that's about all we need to cover. And I am way more confident in this show than I would be for something like Your Lie in April. So I think only 5 episodes is all we need to watch to get a good feel for it. And if you say positive things about it, maybe we'll do a revisit where we try and finish the first season.
Perfect. All right, let's do this.
All right, so without further ado, let's go watch some Sangatsu no Lion.
A massive shaft, you say?
I am actually caught up in the Black Clover manga. None of the characters I give a rat's ass about.
Wow, what a creepy, overbearing, chubby fuck. I love some cute cats and trauma in my anime. There we go. This one has all of it, and it works quite.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back after consuming 5 whole episodes of the hit 2016 anime Sangatsu no Lion, or March Comes In Like a Lion. And it is honestly, Remington, I remembered which anime studio you keep confusing the two with. Every
yeah?
time I mention Madhouse, you think it's Shaft.
Oh, there we go. That's it.
And here's the thing, Rem. I've looked back through our lexicon. You and I have never covered a Shaft anime since Madoka Magica.
Yes, that is correct. We've
So
covered
the fact
quite, and every time we do Madhouse, and I'm like, and that one's not Shaft, and you're like, yeah, and we've only ever covered one Shaft. Now we've covered two, so there we go. It'll double the confusion.
So you have more reason to get confused, but at the same time, you really don't, because it's got to be said, Rem, this anime and anime like Madoka are very different stylistically to a lot of ones we've covered. And the question is, Rem, do you think that is a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, let's jump into it. So, episode 1, we opened with some vague trauma dream, where our main character is being mocked by a girl. And that's sort of all we see there.
In there.
Then, all right. This is one of those shows that very often uses first and last names, and so I don't know what to call the characters most of the time.
Okay.
What should I call the main character?
Well, his name is Rei Kiriyama, so if you want to call him Rei, you can. Or if you
I'll
just
go
want to
Rei.
go with Yep.
Rei is much easier. So Rei, he's on his way to play a shogi game. He takes the subway. He has some suicidal ideation going on. But he plays the shogi game that's versus this old man / father figure. And we later learn that this is his adopted father, right? And the man is like, oh, Rei, your siblings really miss you. And Rei has like memories of abandonment and shit like that, and he's like, I don't know about that, but he wins. So that's what matters, because it doesn't matter if you're an orphan if you're a winner. That is. I think
hear that, orphans?
I think
Just
that's
be
the moral.
amazing at something and kick adults' asses, and then you'll be fine. Don't worry about like the stress of abandonment or depressive episodes. Those don't matter as long as you win.
Charlie Sheen was an orphan. None of us talked about that. We talked about how he was a winner.
Oh God, that's Jesus. When was the last time Charlie Sheen was in the pop culture eye? Because I feel like that's like early 2010 to like late 2015 era of reference that I don't feel like has come up in like half a decade.
It's evergreen, Shaun. It's evergreen content.
Highly topical. The topicalness of Charlie Sheen. I'm glad that we were able to cover it.
So Rei wins, and they part ways. Then Rei got an invite to eat some curry with some girls and some cats. It's essentially, there's just these sisters, and you have Akari is the eldest sister, who's sort of a motherly figure. Hina is in middle school, and she's figuring stuff out. And Momo, she's just young, cute, and adorable. She is fantastic. So are the cats. The cats are adorable, and I love them.
I promised you cute cats, Rem.
They're really cute cats. Essentially, what this show provides cuter cat moments than the cat roommate anime we watched not too long ago.
And that one was about cats.
Yeah, and it provides much more humanity than Your Lie in April. So, it's taking two not great things that we've covered lately, and it does them better in a lot of ways.
It's almost like I planned it that way.
Adorable cats. There's a really wholesome environment, especially because up till now, the first half of episode 1, it's relatively solemn and isolated. There's not a whole lot going on, right? Nothing to really latch on to, and the things that are there aren't positive. They aren't happy, right? But as soon as he gets into the house with the sisters, it's like silly and upbeat, and stylistically the show just becomes a lot more lively, right? Which is very fitting. There's also one bit that for a moment I was like, is this show gonna take a very different turn? And I still don't know the relevance of this, / maybe I know the relevance, but if I know the relevance, then it's a weird bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because while he's there, eating curry, the news talks about how like a father was found murdered by their son, and Ray is like, oh fuck, and he like tenses up really hard, and there's a flashback to him like sort of stalking his adoptive father or something. And I don't know if that's it was a very weird moment, and I don't understand it really.
Well, that's a common trend with Shaft, is they love to put a lot of things in the environment that may or may not have relevance. You could just view that as, hey, Ray's got some real parental issues, and
yeah,
can
because
be
like
easily affected by outside influences like that.
Yeah, I'm like that's one interpretation, but like, and I think that might be the right one.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's the right one, it's like the worst one, because that moment is trying to convince you that Ray killed his dad. And it's very weird because that is not touched on ever again. So
Well,
I'm
Ren,
like,
you've only seen 5 episodes, and we have.
I guess.
And it's a 2-season show of about 40 to 50 episodes. So like you got time.
I guess it was weird. And don't get me wrong, I am not against introducing murder and mystery into this show. It would be weird, but I hey man, I'd be a fan. I just don't fully understand what they're doing. But that's fine. That's fine.
Shaft is weird. That's how I'm gonna summarize it for right now.
All right. Will you tell me whether or not he kills his dad?
Of course, I wouldn't tell you that.
All
Ren.
right. Cool. Awesome. So
I'm not gonna. If it does be the case, then why would I tell you that? And if it wasn't, why would I disappoint you in advance?
So true. So true. So Ray ends up sleeping at the sister's place. And he wakes up to an owl cat. Is that? I mean, it is not quite owl, not quite cat.
I mean, again, Rem, it's all up to interpretation.
All right, cool.
About it. Like,
so
you just gotta.
There's just a owl cat. Ray decides to go to school where it's meeting class. There's a weird scene with a teacher that felt like it was gonna be like the teacher might be more important than they are. But this is the only time we see them, where it's like, hey, teacher's spending their lunch with Ray on the roof, and is like, hey, blah blah blah. But then the teacher gets jealous of how much money Ray is making and just fucks off. Weird scene overall. Don't know why that was there. Anyway, eventually Ray finds his way home, and he's expecting some like tournament information or something in the mail. Oh, but there's nothing in there. And then a chubby kid is like, "Are you looking for this?" And he pulls out the mail, and that's how we end the episode. Weird first episode.
Yeah. Welcome to Shaft.
I don't think that by watching the first episode, most people would be able to get a good grip on the show, right? Because I certainly wasn't able to. After the first episode, I had no idea what it was going for. Like, there was some good shit.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the good shit was all for. I didn't know where it was directed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not a bad first episode, but definitely a weird first episode.
Yep. Once again, man, like I can't emphasize this enough. Shaft loves their artsy, weird directorial framing.
Yeah. And speaking of artsy, like their opening is like the visuals. It's straight up just a Kingdom Hearts cutscene. Like not even just a cutscene. It's like one of those. It's like the any opening to a Kingdom Hearts game where just like a bunch of crazy shit happens and you're like, what the fuck? What did any of that mean? And then by the end, you might like rewatch it and you're still like, I still don't know what any of that was supposed to mean for the most part. It like the opening is very much like that, where he's floating in water in the darkness, dark tendrils trying to reach him, and there's just a lot of shit like that. It's a weird show so far.
Shaft loves their art house shit, my man.
All right, so episode 2. We get some info on this chubby guy. He's apparently rival / fan / best friend to Ray. At least those are all the things he wants to be.
Yes.
And let's make a contrast with Yorla and April for a moment. Yorla and April, you have the rivals who are like, you once beat me when I was 10 years old, and ever since I haven't gotten it out of my head, and therefore I must keep playing. I must defeat you. And it's like, wow, what an amazing motivation and a really well built character, right? That's what they're going for here. This is the exact same character type, right? Where it's you beat me when I was 10, and I'm not over it. But the show plays it off like, buddy, you should really be over it by now. You should not be this obsessed over this. Like, the show is very aware that that is a weird thing. And thank God for that, because the number of times that happened in Your Lie in April, and Your Lie in April was just like, yeah, no, that's how it goes. This show does the exact same thing, but it's like, whoa, that's a little bit intense, don't you think?
Yeah. But it's also like a top layer of him genuinely wanting to be friends with this fella, as opposed to just like, I hate you. You beat me, and you
I'm gonna say it right now. Especially after like what we see in episode 3. The chubby kid, Harunobu, he is, I think, in 5 episodes, he's a better character than possibly any character in Your Lie in April. I'm genuinely, like, I'm trying to think of a character in Your Lie in April, and be prepared. I'm going to continue making these comparisons.
No, it's not like I had that set up at the beginning of the of the series for
but I'm trying to think.
Reasons.
I'm trying to think of any character in Your Lie in April that it has more depth than Harunobu, good old chubby rival. But I can't. Like, and you guys will eventually like explain more about Harunobu. But yeah, that's just. I think I stand by that statement.
Oh no, I'm with you 100%.
Which is crazy because once again, I've only seen 5 episodes of this show. Yeah. And it doesn't focus on like crazy melodrama by any means. But yeah, no, I'm thinking chubby rival better than any character in Your Lie in April. If you have disagreements, then address my points, cowards. Don't just say I'm wrong. All right, so apparently Harunobu, his butler, is away on an 80-day round-the-world vacation. So Harunobu comes over. They play Shogi together, much to Rei's chagrin. Then we meet another character the next day, because it's getting ready for a match, and Rei has a match versus, I can't remember his name at all. Issa.
Yes.
Okay, I just thought of Jar Jar Binks, so...
That's not the most incorrect comparison.
So Issa, he is very bombastic, very big, very aggressive, but he wears his heart on his sleeve at all times, right? So it's not like he's just angry. He just has all of the emotions all of the time.
Yep.
Very high energy fella, Issa is. And Issa versus Rei, they compete against each other. We also get introduced to Smith, who is a general friend of Issa's and sort of Rei's. And Rei easily beats Issa, which it's for like this televised tournament thing. And Issa's disappointed because he wanted his dying grandpa to see him. Which are like, oh yeah, that's sad. But you know, what'll cheer him up? All right, hey, Rei's gonna treat you. And Rei's like, I am? And it's like, yeah, damn right. So
let's exploit this kid.
Yeah. So they get drinks and food, and Akari is the hostess there, in Japanese style, where they just join you for the meal and stuff, and are all flirtatious and whatnot. And Akari essentially like swindles Issa into being the one to treat the group instead of Rei. We also see a little bit of Akari finding Rei, and as we will learn, essentially what happened is Akari, the motherly sister, she found Rei and he was fucked up, and she took him in, just as she does like stray animals and stuff, and took care of him, and now he just has an open invitation there. Mm-hmm. So Issa ends up paying for the group. Cool. Then we get into a little grocery shopping bit, which is he needs to go grocery shopping, and he finds the sisters grocery shopping. They guilt trip him into eating better. And there's a very weird memory where when Akari like brought him in after like Issa it's implied he was forced to get drunk by some upperclassmen, right? and he's struggling to puke. And so she decides to help him puke by just, sticking her whole finger down his throat, which, friendship.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, my man.
We also see that essentially what happened to Ray's parents and also his sister. They were in a car crash, so that's nice and fucked up. Yeah.
Nice, big, good old trauma. Real trauma this time.
Dude, the trauma is so much better handled. Jesus Christ. Especially because as we will see in episode 3 going into it, they allow trauma to be handled different ways, rather than Your Lie in April, which had a very prescriptivist, you need to handle trauma this way or else. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's not to say there aren't worse ways of handling it and better ways, but it is a case-by-case basis still, and so there's not one panacea catch-all solution for that. Anyway, so episode 3, we open up with a bit of a flashback of the first time that Ray and Harunobu face off. And they were both youngsters at that time, and there was a carnival, and it was very hot, right? And Harunobu was really struggling against the heat. And Ray, even young Ray, was like, I'm gonna dominate this fool. Like, I'm gonna kick his ass. But in like this one scene, it shows that Harunobu, who in episode 2 was really just like comic relief and like, look how overbearing he is. But here it's showing like, but he's got fighting spirit though. Like, he's getting fucked up by the heat. And as we'll learn, like, not only because he is large and being affected by the heat, but also because he has a chronic illness. So he's struggling against the heat, but he's not just fighting to survive. He is trying to find any way that he can win. And Ray still beat him, but nonetheless, it just shows the tenacity of Harunobu, which is just a really good moment. Like, Harunobu has really just been involved with 2 scenes thus far. One where it's like, wow, what a creepy, overbearing, chubby fuck. And then just this other scene where it's like, look how he did as a kid. And already he's wildly sympathetic now.
Yeah.
That's how look, you don't need to have this. No, let me summarize. This is why I have so many thoughts, but this is why when I've watched a character for 5 episodes, right? And it's been all about them, and I still do not care about them at all, don't know about them at all. They're still just as bland. It's because you can tell stories better. Look at Harunobu, who in 2 scenes becomes a wildly sympathetic character, with the second one pulling a full 180 to their first impression. Like, that's all it takes, y'all. Stories can be done properly. You don't need to spend multiple hours wondering if you'll ever give a shit. So after that flashback, we see that Harunobu is going to be Ray's competitor for today as well. And once again, the heat is starting to pick up. Ray asks about the AC for a person sort of officiating, and they go and check, seeing that Harunobu is once again getting sort of fucked up. But Harunobu, he's gotten better. He even has some moves that surprise Ray. And Ray's like, shit. Their game actually goes on the longest out of anybody in the sort of Shogi house, right? Shogi house.
Shogi house.
Hey, man.
That's my new tech pop band.
So it's a very close, well-fought game where Harunobu, he's improved, he's been working on it, but Ray does still end up winning. The butler returns early from their 80-day trip. They just did 10 days and came back with a little souvenir and whatnot. And they take Harunobu, and this is where we learn they're going to the hospital because Harunobu's pretty fucked up. He has some kidney problems, right? Which, once again, just adding to that sympathy factor. The Harunobu, solid fucking character. Meanwhile, Ray, he goes to Akari's because he promised her he would. There's a sort of like festival thing going on, Odon, where from what I gathered, it's vaguely reminiscent of like a Day of the Dead style thing.
Yes.
Where it's you welcome the spirits of your loved ones in and then send them off afterwards.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. That's a good way of thinking of it.
Something like that.
Yes.
It's in that ballpark. And so he has that because the sisters, their parents, have died, and Ray doesn't quite know what's up with that, but he doesn't ask because he knows that it's relatively recent. Hina eventually is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go, and she's the middle child. She's like, oh, I gotta, just go to the convenience store or something. So she goes, and Ray follows her, and she actually goes to the harbor where she's like crying out for her mother, very fucked up. And Ray, he comforts her, and then they both just like look out, and there's a recognition that Ray and Hina are handling their trauma wildly differently. Where Ray has largely like bottled up or shut off his emotions to try and cope, tried to set it aside. Hina is exploding with emotion, right? And yeah, just trauma's handled wildly differently. I will note also, around this time, I noticed that the show, I solidly like the show at this point, but it has a couple of flaws. And they're not terrible, but they do affect the experience. And the flaws aren't even anything super noticeable, at least overtly, because it's subtle. And it's that the flow and the pacing are off overall. It doesn't feel like there's a solid flow. Sometimes it feels a little jittery at times. And it's difficult to exactly describe without having watched it before. So for those who haven't. But yeah, it just felt like sometimes it's a little bit askew. And it's not terrible by any means. But it's probably the most prominent example where Your Lie in April would beat March Comes In Like a Lion is in that flow. Where it always had a consistent flow and it always was moving forward in a very interesting way. And it's probably just because, Shaft. But
yep, no, that's the exact reason.
Yeah, it keeps it's hard to find your grounding in this show, right? And that is a consistent theme. And that does somewhat detract from the viewing experience at times. Not terribly. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's worth noting.
The more you watch, like, fancy art house Shaft stuff and notice this common trend, the quicker you get used to it. It just... yeah. It's a jittery, slow pace that can be a bit jarring if you're not used to it.
Yeah, and it's also, like, wildly difficult to describe, unfortunately.
Exactly. But once you consume enough of it, it's like, okay, yeah, this isn't what I'm normally used to, but I'm okay with it, is the way it usually goes for most people.
Yeah, so episode 4, Hina, she needs, and you also, like, I talk a lot about Akari, talk a lot about Hina. I don't talk a lot about Momo, because she's, like, 5.
Yeah, she doesn't understand trauma.
She's not super relevant to the story at any point yet, but she is fantastic. She is an amazing character. Everything she does is adorable. They have perfectly captured adorable little girl with Momo. And so, episode 4 opens with Hina. She needs a cute lunch to give to her crush. And it needs to be fantastic. And there's a bit of an argument where Akari, the older sister, is like, yeah, maybe you're going a little bit too ambitious and maybe, like, stick to what you know, make it a little bit cute and it'll be good enough. But Hina's like, no, I want to go all out and I want to get the expensive ingredients. And so Hina goes for it and she fucks it all up.
Yeah.
She fucks it all up majorly, but she makes some kind of finished product. And as Ray happens to be walking past Hina's middle school while the baseball game is being played, with Hina's there watching the boy she likes. And unfortunately, he watches as after the game is finished, everyone just in the party camaraderie of it all ends up going off doing their own thing, and Hina's not able to deliver the lunchbox she worked so hard on. Which is a nice sad moment. And also, like, horribly relatable, because I feel like we've all had those moments when we were young where we were like, I am going to go all out for this thing, right? And we have such a clear, fantastic image of how it's going to end up and the result and how people are going to respond. And we put an obscene amount of effort into it, and then it happens, and it just does not get the reaction we anticipated, or it just doesn't work out the way we wanted to, right? That is, like, such a vivid childhood experience that happened to be a ridiculous amount of times.
Yeah. One day I'll make my parents happy.
one day. And Hina goes to throw it away, but she's stopped by Rei, and he's like, no, bring it back. And Hina's like, no, but Akari is going to be, like, mean and be like, I told you so, and it'll be embarrassing. But Akari, like, is actually super understanding, is like, oh, yeah, no, that's how it went for me, too. That's fine. So they all have the food together, which is trash, because Hina didn't taste test and didn't know what she was doing. Just fun moment overall. Then the next part of the episode, because every episode is split up into different chapters. Though with pretty good flow overall. It's not that they are completely separate from one another. It is chronological, and usually one chapter will directly lead into the next. Sometimes, like in this case, you get a bit of a break between the chapters, but overall, it's actually quite fluid in this regard.
Yeah, they try to do about 2 chapters of the manga for every episode of the anime, give or take.
Yep. So
that's the general flow of it, at least.
Yep, this chapter opens up with good old Harunobu, and he's challenging Rei some more, just in some private games, and Harunobu wants things done in a very particular way. Eventually, they decide to go eat lunch together. As they're deciding what to eat, they see Momo is scared and lost, but as she sees Harunobu, she thinks that he's basically Totoro.
Yeah.
She thinks he's Totoro and goes and gives him a hug, and they comfort her and find the other sisters as well. And the moment Akari sees Harunobu, Akari, who thus far is like presented as just like wildly ladylike, super graceful, everybody is into Akari, and Akari is super into Harunobu, like face immediately flushed. She's just like, oh fuck. Because, as was alluded to, Hina in a previous episode told Rei about Akari. Akari, she just takes things in from the street and makes them soft and fluffy, whether it's a dog, a cat, and I'm sure one day you'll be soft and fluffy too. Right? And so it was a nice little funny throwaway line. But Harunobu is soft and fluffy. And so Akari is like, fuck yeah, my dream man. Which is, I appreciate that they like leaned in hard in this way, and not even just for like a one-off joke, but rather it's like, yeah, no, it makes sense, and it fits Akari's character very well. They all go to eat over at the sister's place, where Akari mostly just focuses on Harunobu, but Harunobu is like, actually, can we have some bland and lean foods? And she's like, oh shit, he wants to take care of himself, and I suppose that's reasonable, but also I like him soft and fluffy. So she does as asked, though, because she cares about his well-being more than his chub. Which, you know, hell yeah. Then the butler arrives because he has a GPS tracker on Harunobu, and he joins in as well, and they all just have a lovely evening together. Then we get to episode 5. Episode 5, we explore more trauma, which is always going to be fun.
Everybody loves a little bit of trauma exploration. Really lightens up the mood in this comedy podcast.
It's like, hey, wow, how wholesome. And now for the trauma.
Yep.
We got a nice little flashback to young Rei beating his dad's friend in Shogi, and how he's so much like his dad. Then in the present, he's asked to pick Momo up from kindergarten. He does, and it's adorable, and she sings a little cat song, and then she ends up getting chased by a dog at one point because someone let go of the leash on their dog, and she falls and she cries, and the dog didn't want to hurt her. Like, we see the dog's internal monologue, it just wants to play. But also, you know, if you're in public, keep your dogs on leashes.
Yep. And get them a proper harness, not just a leash on a collar.
Yes.
Like, a proper harness will let you control the dog better, and it won't choke out the dog when it gets a little too frisky.
Yeah, and most times, like, leashes, not just, you can be like, oh, but my dog's, like, not dangerous at all. And, like, that might be true, but also for their safety. For example, if you have a dangerous dog that's leashed, right, and the owner can take control, but your dog, it's friendly, but it's just very curious, right? And it could get in dangerous dog's face, and problems can arise. Basically, just, you know, be very mindful, be very aware, and take care of your pets. But nonetheless, we see that some more backstory about Rei's dead family and how his aunt and grandpa wouldn't take him in. So eventually he was taken in by a Shogi dad, who only cared about Shogi taught his other children, Shogi, Ayamu, and Kyoko. And they were just wildly strict. At one point, Kyoko, who's the older sister to Rei in this context, she lost and hit Rei, and so she was punished by just being left outside for the night, which is fucked up, but then she apparently breaks into Rei's room and beats on him some more. And we see a certain flashback that is ambiguous, but seems to imply that Rei might have been sexually assaulted by his older sister.
There is definitely that undertone, as you might say.
Yeah, so the show definitely alludes to it shows a lot of abuse and alludes to even more. We see that the little brother, Ayamu, there we go, Ayamu, he had a breakdown and quit Shogi. Kyoko was forced to quit because she could never beat Rei, so therefore all of the pressure was placed on Rei. And yeah, that's generally the crux of the episode. Just Rei's real rough and unhealthy upbringing. There we go. That's episode 5, the trauma episode.
Yeah, well, a trauma episode. There's still a lot of show
I'm sure
left.
there'll be plenty more. There'll be plenty more where that came from. I love some cute cats and trauma in my anime. There we go. Which, I mean, to be fair, we've had one that tried to have cute cats and trauma, but then didn't work. We also had one that tried to have talented main characters in trauma, and that didn't work. But this one has all of it, and it works quite well. It doesn't, I will say, if you're in Your Lie in April for, like, the melodrama, this show doesn't really have that. It has a much more grounded, down-to-earth, and human approach to things. It's much more realistic and chill, which doesn't mean that it won't have, like, intense emotions by any means, right? Just that if you want the schoolyard drama, you're not going to get nearly as much of it here, which I would say is a good thing.
Yeah. Instead, you're just going to get very dark undertones and, like, possible traumas that they don't blatantly say at this point in the show anyway. And that might make you go think to yourself, excuse me, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, this show is a much more mature show. While at the same time, March Comes In Like a Lion is also, it has a lot of silly and fun moments, which you'll recall when we watched My Roommate is a Cat or whatever the fuck. It tried to also have that balance, and it didn't work at all well because the traumatic moments weren't great and the comedy moments weren't great. But here, both types of moments have weight to them, and they feel valuable and uplifting, and they're fun when it's the comedy silly, and it's heart-wrenching when it's the traumatic, right? Largely, this show, while certainly not perfect, and for example, it fundamentally does not have the polish that Your Lie in April does, which I think is fine, because it's got the fundamentals and the big picture stuff a lot better. Way better characters, way better, like, interactions and relationships, for instance, right? All the characters interacting with each other at any time feel very natural and interesting and engaging for me.
Yeah. And I will say that Your Lie in April is geared towards younger audiences, which is not an excuse, I will say. But March Comes In Like a Lion is actually a seinen manga. And if you'll recall, that just means it's geared towards older audiences, adults and the like. Even though it is, in fact, about young people dealing with trauma. So, really, I suppose the question, Rem, is, was I correct in predicting that in only 5 episodes you would have found this whole show entirely superior to Your Lie in April?
Oh, easily. Like, I think that maybe Your Lie in April, like, in its ideal form, which is more or less like what I want it to be and what it showed in moments it could be, but then never was. Like, in that sense, Your Lie in April's potential, I think, is greater than where March Comes In Like a Lion. But it wasted that potential. So yeah, no, easy choice.
Fantastic. Because, yeah, Rem, I mean, after 4 years, I wanted to show you something worthwhile and good in a lot of ways. And Whether or not the whole show stays that way to the very end, it's hard for you to say because you haven't seen much more. But I feel like just these 5 episodes alone speak volumes as to the quality of this show.
Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, do you have any guesses on the Mal score of Sangatsu no Lion?
I think it will be lower than Your Lie in April. I think it has generally less popular appeal because it's less like in your face and less overdramatic, which makes things catch on easier. But right. I think it should be at least I think it'll be around 8.1.
8.1. You're not too far off, actually. So, as you might have guessed, Sangatsu no Lion doesn't have quite as much popularity as Your Lie in April. Your Lie in April, I believe, was in the top 50 or 60 on Mal and had an obscenely high score because of it, and an incredible amount of people reviewing it. March Comes In Like a Lion only has about 230,000 reviews on it. But the vast majority of them are glowing, and Sangatsu no Lion is sitting nice and pretty at an 8.4.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, so it's not too far behind Your Lie in April in terms of score, and I would say it could honestly be a little bit higher. But then again, this is the type of show that is a bit of a slow burn that not everybody's going to immediately fall in love with unless they're really looking for the little human details.
By weeb concerns and weeb ratings, I think it should be higher, but for me, I'd probably put it at an 8 out of 10 thus far. Which is good.
That's really good for you, Rem.
It's a very good rating.
Yeah, for only seeing 5 episodes of what is essentially a 40-episode series, that's pretty good, my guy.
Yeah.
It makes me happy to hear you good, and I feel happy that for our 4th anniversary, I was able to give you yet another lovely thing so I could trick you into doing this for longer.
Yes. Oh, man. Well,
so the final
see
question.
How long that continues.
Well, oh, hey, listen here, bud. Listen here, we have responsibilities now.
I've said it before. We all know, even the listeners, we none of us know when the podcast is going to end, but we all know how it's going to end. We all know that just eventually I am going to be so sick of this bullshit that I'm gonna opt out. We all know that's the inevitable end. It's just a matter of when. And right now, it's nowhere in the near future, which is good. But we all know that is the only way this ends.
I don't know, man. I feel like the other way this ends is when we're grisly murdered by other people.
All right, well, fair enough.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a bit hard to do a podcast if we've been, executed by weebs,
Yeah.
But with that in mind, I suppose the final question I have to ask you for the 4th year in a row, Rem, is there any chance you'd like to watch a bit more March Comes In Like a Lion with me?
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in doing so.
Fantastic, and then maybe we'll do a revisit sometime soon. And with that, thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciated it. If you enjoyed spending 4 years worth of content creation with myself and Remington, then you should head on over to wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and leave us a review. It means the world to us. We read every single one, and it does wonders for us, guys. You have no idea. Algorithms are a pain, and we do what we can to make them happy.
What's crazy, Shaun?
What's crazy, Ryan?
So Apple Podcasts, we have a few hundred, which is nice. But we're larger on Spotify, and we have over 1,500 reviews on Spotify. Let's see if we can bump that up to 2,000. If we can get up to 2,000 reviews, oh man.
Oh wow! I do say we read every single one, but I had not paid attention to.
Well, I guess ratings on Spotify.
Ratings, okay. I was about to say because I don't know if everybody's written a full review, because I think Spotify only recently added a review system.
I don't even know if it has a review system. I know it has a rating system, but it's all the same. It's all the
same. We love it. We love it. It makes us happy.
Give us those stars.
Yeah, we are basic and we love stars. We're Americans, god damn it. We need more stars. But with that, if you'd like to support us even more directly, you can head over on to twitch.tv/animeoutofcontext, where primarily myself, but also Remington and Dylan, play video games, chat, do the usual thing live. And if you'd like to support us even more directly than that, you can head on over to patreon.com/animeoutofcontext, where where you gain access to all kinds of lovely bonus material, including having the opportunity to have your name read aloud on the podcast. So, Remington, who are we thanking this week?
Well, of course, we would like to send our regards to all of our bland bitch protagonists, as well as our magical girls, who we really appreciate. But moving on, we go to our yandere waifus, who are doing some type of vague and undisclosed trauma unto us that we will repress for years to come. And on that list, we have Alex, Xanax, Yontosaurus Rex, Yandere Neko, you hear? Why Shaun? Why Shaun? Why are there 6 pedals for only 4 directions? Shaun E. Rollins. Who else is sick of snowstorms messing with getting to work? What do you... Not us. We, just barely got our first snowstorm of all of winter. What do you call a tire...
That is not true. We've had a couple snowstorms this year.
Maybe... I guess maybe emphasis on
you don't
couple.
go outside.
I can see outside.
You rarely do, though, my guy.
I have windows. I'm not stuck in the basement like Dylan. Where stuck in the cage. What do you call a tired anime girl? A yandere. Walk Me Home Gently. Wacky hypotheticals. Hell yeah. Veiny Jordan. Juliana. Totally God. The Dawn. The Susanator. The Nutty Musician biosynthetically dream because birthday conjecturally cough out of straight record ritzy 3 buffer. That film guy, that kind of violence cannot be tolerated, says Miska, issuing a warning. Sorry it took me so long to fix my name, ADHD and all that jazz. Silent secondaries, shoujo addict, don't send help, send me more romance tropes because my husband isn't a romantic is the title of my light novel. Shaun, what did you think of the Entertainment District arc? Yeah, Shaun.
I know exactly what they're talking about, and I thought it was quite entertaining.
Shaun, if you made a D&D half-long monk with divination, would you name them Joseph Hirose, Sarah Birch, Salty Pretzel, Ross Palmer, Rhiannon Williams, Remington Merrill? Remington has bottom energy, ready to be isekai. Only God can judge them. It's up to me to send them to him. Irish wristwatch. No waifu, no lifu. Navi, Mr. Marshmallow Man, Mike the Mutilator, Matthew Drum says Shaun's a bitch, Matt02 Max, Lukey O, Luke Offenberger, Lonely Geek 23, Kazu Morocco, Casey Mosley, Cassidy, Just a Traveler, Jax, Jam Hands. I'm out of goofs, make your own jar joke. Ichigo Sims 015. I won't stop until Shaun is in Big Bird's cloaca on OnlyFans. Oh,
Jesus, fuck!
I want Rev to ruin DITF for me. I'm Remington Enjoy Boy Lolly Girls. I keep a figurine of Rem in a mason jar for the exact reason you think. I have the power, I could be the hero, I could be the villain, it doesn't really matter, I can make this idiot say anything. I guess you're on Keter duty. I do not dream of Shaun in a bunny suit senpai. I cut VTubers from my life entirely and escaped the rabbit hole, good for you. You thought this was another Green Day repeat, but it was me, Dio. Hunter Davies, Hunger Bunger. Hey you, slop on my knob like corn on the cob, dang me head like a Rem in bed, do a moan. Hey Rem, let me tongue punch your fart box. Help, I'm stuck in a Jeep with a high Irishman. Happy anniversary, Shaun, Rem, and Dylan. Hopefully you will review more anime that have white sword sets in the coming year. Cheers. Glenn Michael Dolan, Fuck of Love Fox and Boy. First we had Lena Sweetness, then Biggest Dickus, and now we have President Deletus Fetus. Brought to you by Gugus Gagus. Ferdinand the Bull, Farmer Weeb can't wait for the anime out of context NTR special. Fantide, Fallen Ghoul, Extreme Cobra, Epigamy, Dr. Zorgonite, Data Type, Darkstorm 713, Dante Soriano, Creed 13, Shy 900, Cheese Monkey, Cage in the House, Rockhard for Geodudes. Bonjour, mademoiselle, je peux de lune de soleil, je vous make venga, merci beaucoup, j'ai, oui, baguette besou. Be like Harry and don't fuck your sister unless it's your redheaded best friend's sister. Bara, Audio Glitch, Attack on Titan is overrated and Daddy Dylan is my waifu. As your best friend, I know what your one daki is, and it is of Rachnera Arachnera. Rachnera?
Rachnera, yeah, it's the spider monster girl from Monster Musume that haunts my nightmares.
Oh God. Ariel Bird, Andrew Rauge, Elise Howard, AJ Honey, Adam McLaughlin. It's not a VTuber reference, it's a Senzawa reference. Fantastic, there's our Yandere waifus. Now we move on to the boy wizards across the pond. But this week, they're not going to Hogwarts, Shaun. Oh no, they are going to a random school that has a lion mascot. And I'm gonna know, some of these are universities, others are straight up middle schools. So there's a broad array, but this is your dream school, baby, and it has a lion for it. So there you go.
Yep. And that's the what they're assuming, insinuating I have, and I can tell you that's far from the truth.
Oh, I should get him one.
Oh, God.
All right, so we start with, what is love, a vow, a band of gold, an ephemeral state of mind, or an action, perhaps a gift only truly received when reciprocated? You get Oak Avenue Intermediate School. That's it. That's us. Warning, we still remember the barrel. Speaking of barrel, you're getting Payne College. Tony the Great, you're getting Columbia University. You know, let's do some universities. Stick Meat, you get Pennsylvania State University. Silicon Spectre, you get Loyola Marymount University. I think that's a Catholic school, which, you know, congrats. Pocket Gamer 513, you get Georgian Court University. PL Mayer, you're gonna get the College of New Jersey. Odinafish, you're getting Lincoln University. Nyan Pasunyan 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 Pasunyan. You are getting University of Sydney. MT the Poet, you are going to get the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Then Momo the Griff, you get University of North Alabama. Mike wants an Overlord review, you get Albright College. Miguel DeLeon, you are going to get Westlake High School. Inuyasha's my favorite cryptid says, just call me Shikamaru because I want to stick to you like a shadow. You are getting Lemon Grove Middle School. Insert embarrassing Shaun fact here.
When Shaun was in 2nd grade, he was in dire need of the little boys' room, but all of the stalls were out of order. So, naturally, he did what any of us would do. He took his shoe off, removed his sock, squatted down, and used his little white tube sock as a porta-john. When it came time to dispose of the evidence, he just threw it over a stall and walked away. When his crimes were discovered the next day, the administration went to every class and made the students prove that they were wearing both of their socks. To this very day, the shit sock slingshot remains free.
Ooh, how embarrassing. You get Leo Jr. / Senior High School.
I appreciate you not actually sticking an embarrassing Shaun fact in there.
Hey, that's not up to me. Who knows what Dylan will do.
Oh, no, Dylan, please.
I bought my Eldritch Daddy a penguin mask. He wants me to call him King Penguin instead of Daddy. Now I can't walk straight. You are going to get Leslie Middle School. I am the president of Dracula United, not Remington. Okay. Another coup. You are getting Concord University. Hinata's a Ball of Sunshine. You get Dowling College. Hey Kids, throws Biscuit into Abyss. Fetch. You're getting Southeastern Louisiana University. Then we get Harrison, who's going to the National University of San Marcos. Fisherman from Norway, you're getting North Central Texas College. Probably in Norway, you know. No reason to believe otherwise. Beethoven 1201, aka Kohei Azumi, you're getting, you're getting Finlandia University. Allfather's Curse Fact of the Week, there are over 200 corpses on Mount Everest, and they're used as waypoints for climbers. Hell yeah. You are getting, John Tyler High School. Aaron Hegland, you're getting Salem High School. Editsu, Medoof, Bob, Big One Oof, Lord Brockdoof of Dulu, I'm skipping a week. You're getting the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. 2 section, I have to show you my Rule 34 of UE. It's my favorite of my many folders. Last but not least, you are getting Ponce High School. So there we go. But, of course, we're not over now because we're going all the way to the inappropriate Joey Wheeler tier, where this week I am going to provide everyone with a best friend that is a lion, and then Shaun, after all of them, will give a lion roar that he thinks is fitting for this character.
Oh, okay.
Hell yeah. So we start with...
I don't understand, but I'll try my best.
That's an anti-tank rifle. Oh, fuck, that's an anti-tank rifle. You are... You are getting Frasier, the sensuous lion? So, Shaun, could we hear the roar of Frasier, the sensuous lion?
I hear the blues are calling.
Oh, fuck. You know what? Pretty solid. Magic Ice Ball. You are going to get Lion-O from the Thundercats as your best friend.
This one's easy. Ho!
There we go. Perfect. It will only be a select number of episodes before the darkest day. I wonder what torture option Rem will decide for Shaun. He. You are going to be given, you are getting the Cowardly Lion from Wizard of Oz as your best friend.
Another easy one.
I'll be honest, Shaun, you're doing, like, unironically pretty decent.
I mean, it helps that you're giving me, like, characters that I recognize.
Well,
I'm
trying to give them, like, famous friends, hooking people up.
Yeah, no, like, Frasier the Lion is the one that really threw me off. I'll tell you that right now.
The sensuous lion, thank you very much.
The sensuous lion, yeah.
So, my dear old mom, you are going to get Richard the Lion-Hearted, specifically from the animated Robin Hood.
Oh, okay. Not guilty. There you go. Because, he said that's all he did was he just came in at the end of the movie. Was like, oh yeah, this dude, not guilty. I know he didn't talk like this, but that's what I like to picture,
I just liked that it became Nixon.
I'm not guilty.
And last but not least, going above and beyond, we have Dylan Hayden. And your best friend, Mr. Hayden, is going to be, how obscure do I want to go?
Oh, God, please.
Really the question? Well, the real question is just like, what the fuck do I want to... All right, I have it. We'll do... this is one I can do a very good impression of. Aslan from Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, but you want me to do it?
Well, yeah, you do it, and then I'll do a better version.
Okay. That's fair. Point of reference, I've only read the books.
Perfect. Even better.
And that was when I was like 8 or 9.
Love it.
So, Rhyme Jesus. There you go.
All right, mine was gonna be, hey, I'm dying for your sins over here.
I'm glad that we went to the same place, essentially. We just took different paths. We just took...
If you want to reach
I'm a thin allegory for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, but I'm also a lion. Gow!
If you want to reach out, whether it's for a comment, question, feedback, or recommendation, you can tweet us at AnimeConPod on Twitter or send an email over onto animeoutofcontext@gmail.com.
Once again, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. We love and appreciate you very much. And as always, don't fuck your sister.
A massive shaft, you say?
Massive shaft, massive penis. Even in just the past 4 years, Rhyme, I'm sure I consumed at least 4 times as much shaft as you have.
And already, I would say that I have consumed far too much penis.